Welcome to this deep dive into Chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita, one of the most profound spiritual texts in the world. This chapter, titled Sankhya Yoga, or the Yoga of Knowledge, is where Lord Krishna begins his teachings to the warrior Arjuna, who is struggling with doubt and confusion on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Today, we'll explore the key themes and lessons from this chapter, focusing on the eternal nature of the soul, the concept of duty, dharma, and the path to spiritual liberation. As the chapter opens, Arjuna, the great warrior, is overwhelmed with sorrow. He is standing in the midst of the battlefield, facing the grim reality of fighting against his own family, teachers, and friends. The thought of killing them in battle fills him with despair, and he questions the very purpose of the war. This is more than just a warrior's hesitation, it's an existential crisis. Arjuna is torn between his duty as a warrior and his love for his relatives. In this moment of vulnerability, he turns to Lord Krishna for guidance, saying, "I am confused about my duty, and I am overwhelmed by anxiety and sorrow. I am your disciple, and I surrender to you. Please instruct me." Krishna begins his teachings by addressing the root of Arjuna's confusion, the nature of the self. He explains that the soul, Atman, is eternal, indestructible, and unchanging. The body, on the other hand, is temporary and subject to decay. Krishna says, the self is never born and never dies. It is eternal, indestructible, and timeless. The soul cannot be cut by weapons, burned by fire, drowned by water, or dried by the wind. This knowledge is crucial because it shifts Arjuna's perspective from the physical and temporary to the eternal and spiritual. Krishna's message is clear: death is not the end, but merely a transition from one state to another. Understanding this, Arjuna is urged to rise above his fear of death and perform his duty without attachment. Krishna then addresses the concept of dharma, or duty. He reminds Arjuna that as a kshatriya, his duty is to fight in a righteous war. To abstain from this duty out of fear or attachment is to forsake his dharma, which would bring dishonor upon him and his family. Krishna says, considering your dharma, you should not waver. For a warrior, there is nothing more honorable than a battle fought for dharma. If you do not fight this righteous battle, you will be failing in your duty, and your reputation as a warrior will be destroyed. Here, Krishna introduces the concept of karma yoga, the yoga of selfless action. He tells Arjuna that he must perform his duty without attachment to the results. Whether he wins or loses, gains or loses, he must remain focused on his duty. This detachment from the outcome of actions is the essence of karma yoga. Krishna further emphasizes the importance of maintaining equanimity, remaining balanced in both success and failure, pleasure and pain, gain and loss. This balanced state of mind is the key to spiritual growth. He says, perform your duty with a mind that is steady and undisturbed by success and failure. Such equanimity of mind is called yoga. This teaching leads to the concept of Sankhya Yoga, the path of knowledge and discrimination. Krishna explains that true wisdom lies in recognizing the difference between the eternal soul and the temporary body. By understanding this, one can detach from the material world and focus on spiritual growth. Krishna describes the qualities of a wise person who has attained self-realization. Such a person is free from desires, unaffected by external circumstances, and sees the same divine presence in all beings. He says, a person who has renounced all desires and lives free from longing, who has no sense of ego or possessiveness, attains true peace. This state of inner peace and contentment is the goal of spiritual practice. It is achieved through the combined practice of Sankhya Yoga, knowledge, and Karma Yoga, selfless action. By the end of Chapter 2, Krishna has provided Arjuna with a profound philosophical framework to overcome his grief and confusion. He has explained the nature of the soul, the importance of duty, and the path of selfless action, Krishna urges Arjuna to rise above his attachments and perform his duty as a warrior. He says, "Fight for the sake of duty, treating alike happiness and distress, loss and gain, victory and defeat. Fulfilling your responsibility in this way, you will never incur sin." In essence, Krishna is telling Arjuna that by understanding the eternal nature of the soul and performing his duty without attachment to the results, he can achieve spiritual liberation, moksha. A few key verses from chapter 2 to reflect on. Verse 2.13, as the embodied soul continuously passes, in this body, from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. The self-realized soul is not bewildered by such a change. Verse 2.47, you have a right to perform your prescribed duties, but you are not entitled to the fruits of your actions. Never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities, nor be attached to an action. Verse 2.71, a person who has given up all desires for sense gratification, who lives free from desires, who has given up all sense of proprietorship and is devoid of false ego, he alone can attain real peace. Chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita is a treasure trove of wisdom, offering guidance on how to live a life of purpose, balance, and inner peace. It teaches us that by understanding the true nature of the self and performing our duties without attachment, we can attain spiritual liberation.